Get full episodes of The Damage Report as a podcast on iTunes and Android, and you can watch the live show every weekday on YouTube TV. Obviously, we talk a lot about domestic politics here, but there is a lot going on outside of the US, so every once in a while, we like to step outside of our bubble in a segment we call Meanwhile In. Mars. Okay, so in Mars, did you know that we've just delivered another lander to the surface of another planet? I hope that you saw this news, because that is gigantic. This is the InSight lander, joined the Curiosity rover, which landed in 2012, and its 3 p.m. touchdown yesterday marked the first time in 6 years that a NASA spacecraft has landed on the red planet. Now, if you followed InSight and if you followed Curiosity, you might think, oh, this stuff is simple, but no, it's quite difficult. More than half of all missions don't make it safely to the surface because it takes more than 8 minutes for light signals to travel 100 million miles to Earth. Scientists have no control over the process. All they can do is program the spacecraft within their best technology and wait. In total, I believe that InSight went 300 million miles to get to Mars. And so again, there's that big delay between when information is sent from it to when we get it. So you had a room full of the best nerds in the country waiting. It had either gotten to the surface or crashed, and they had to wait minutes to actually find out. And while it's there, InSight is gonna do some pretty interesting research. It's gonna operate for the next 2 Earth years, deploying a seismometer, a heat sensor, and radio antenna to probe the red planet's interior. Scientists hope that InSight will uncover signs of tectonic activity and clues about the planet's past. Those findings could illuminate how Mars became the desolate desert world we see today. Desolate overall, but we do believe that at one point it had a thicker atmosphere than it does today. There is some surface ice at the poles of Mars. There is a belief that there could well be large amounts of either ice or liquid water underneath. It's not necessarily clear that InSight will be able to detect that. But if we are to have some sort of sustainable human presence on Mars, that's gonna be pretty important. And I just wanna briefly say, we got a little thing all the way to Mars and we landed it there. And it's like sort of news for a day. There's a lot of inspirational stuff that goes on around the planet. People are doing great things under very difficult circumstances. But this is definitely something that we as a species should take a couple of minutes out and like light a candle on a cupcake, at least something. This is a massive achievement for our species. Like we put something on the moon and that's great. You know, that's wonderful, and even decades later you get Ryan Gosling movies out of it. But Mars is way farther. And we were able to get something there yet again. Now this one's not gonna be driving around. The pictures aren't necessarily as cool as Curiosity just yet, but the research it's gonna generate is gonna be very important. So great job, NASA nerds. While all that's going on, meanwhile in Argentina, darker news. Prosecutors are considering charging Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, with war crimes and torture if he flies to Buenos Aires, as he is expected to, for this week's G20 summit. So what is this about? Well, advocacy group Human Rights Watch wrote to a federal prosecutor arguing that the Argentinian courts should invoke a universal jurisdiction statute in Argentinian law to seek prosecution of the Crown Prince for mass civilian casualties caused by the Saudi-led coalition's campaign in Yemen, which we were talking about earlier, and for the torture of Saudi citizens, including Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi, who was killed in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul on 2nd October, so just like 6 weeks ago. This is a story that I am gonna continually bring up because it is astounding to me that we have done nothing here in the US to actually provide consequences for that brutal torture and murder and vivisection and dissection of Jamal Khashoggi that happened. Over the Thanksgiving break, when I wasn't here, Donald Trump said some of the most embarrassing and horrifying things I've ever seen a US president say, in basically admitting, it looks like he did it. It looks like Mohammed bin Salman actually ordered it. The CIA is saying that, but I don't care. we've got an arms deal. I don't even need the plausible deniability that I sort of had a month ago. You know, whatever, anything goes. And so if MBS wants to kill more political dissidents or reporters, go right ahead. Duterte, have at it. Go kill whoever you want. Putin, you're doing some poisonings, poison them all. As long as you have some sort of modicum of business, either with the US government or with the president personally, anything goes from now on. That is absolutely horrendous and should be horribly embarrassing for every American. Now, in Argentina, they might have charges against them. It seems pretty unlikely at this point, but I like that they're at least floating the possibility, keeping the message out there that MBS, who was being embraced by the world for some reason as a supposed moderate just a year or two ago, he should be an exile throughout the world. Whenever he goes abroad, he should be greeted in exactly this way, with at least the threat of some sort of charges against him. There's a lot of other politicians internationally that deserve the same sort of thing, but he definitely deserves it after this murder, so good to see that as well. Meanwhile, in Japan. So did you know that Japan has tons of abandoned homes that now, thankfully, their government is launching a program to either give away or sell for virtually nothing to get people to move into these areas. They're launching that to reduce the overall number of abandoned homes. According to Insider, there have been any number, millions literally rising over the years. It says there in 2013 that there's 8 million houses, but I also saw that within something like a decade, they're thinking that that might rise by 50% to possibly more. It's a significant chunk of all of the homes that are currently available in Japan, by the way. And they have launched a website. You can go on, I actually took a look at it, and you can see these homes. I wouldn't say that they look amazing necessarily, but you're getting them for virtually nothing, and that saves a lot of money to do some, like home renovation. You can maybe talk to Anna Kasparian. She can help you, outfit it with some designer furniture or something. But Japan is a great country. I know that virtually everyone here at TYT has visited it in the last 2 weeks or so and absolutely loves it, so that could certainly help. Now, look, seriously, Japan is having a population crisis. Lots of people are moving to the urban areas as well and living in apartments. So a lot of these rural areas are getting abandoned. That's not good for a number of different reasons. And so this and other programs could be helpful in that area. That's what's going on around the world and around the solar system. Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.